The room was quiet. Too quiet. 3 people were sitting inside a very small space. They were not moving much. Their helmets were on. Their hands were ready. Their hearts were beating fast. Outside, the rocket stood tall. Very tall. It was white, gray, and old in design. It did not look modern. It did not look beautiful. But it was powerful. This rocket was called Soyuz. Inside the control room, engineers were watching screens. Every screen showed numbers. Green lights were on. Everything looked normal. But space missions are never simple. Even one small mistake can change everything. Time was moving fast. Then suddenly, a voice broke the silence. A calm but serious voice came from the capsule. "This is Soyuz crew. We are ready." That one sentence carried a lot of meaning. It was not just ready to fly. It was ready to risk life. The astronauts knew something very important. Once the rocket launches, there is no turning back. Space does not forgive mistakes. Fire, speed, and gravity will test everything. The clock was ticking. T-10 minutes. Fuel was already inside the rocket. Thousands of kilograms of fuel. Enough power to lift humans away from Earth. Enough power to destroy everything if something went wrong. The rocket started, making low sounds. It was like a giant waking up from sleep. Inside the capsule, the astronauts felt small vibrations. Not dangerous, but enough to remind them where they were. One astronaut looked at the control panel. Everything was normal. Another astronaut closed his eyes for a moment. The third one took a deep breath. This rocket had flown many times before. It had sent many people to space. Some came back safely. Some did not. Everyone remembered the past. Soyuz was not new. It was born during the Cold War. It was made when space was a race. When nations wanted power, pride, and victory. Back then, speed was important. Survival was a challenge. That old design was still here today. Why? Because it worked. In the control room, one engineer leaned forward. His eyes were fixed on the screen. Years of training led to this moment. He whispered to himself, "Please, stay calm." T-5 minutes. The launch tower was still holding the rocket. The arms around Soyuz looked like they were hugging it. Holding it for the last time. Wind moved slowly around the rocket. The sky was clear. Weather was good. Everything looked perfect. But space missions are never perfect. Inside the capsule, the commander spoke again. His voice was steady. "All systems check." The reply came fast. "All systems go." That reply was heard many times before in history. But every time, it felt heavy. Because after that, humans trust machines. And machines never care about fear. T-2 minutes. The astronauts could feel their suits pressing slightly. Oxygen was flowing. The capsule felt alive. Every sound felt louder. A warning. Light blinked once. The engineer's heart skipped a beat. He checked again. It was normal? Or was it? Seconds felt like minutes. T-30 seconds. Now there was no fear. Only focus. Training took control. The astronauts stopped thinking about family. About Earth. About life. They were professionals. Inside the control room, the final command was prepared. One button. One action. Then something unexpected happened. A signal appeared. Not red. Not green. Yellow. The room became tense. The engineer spoke quickly. "Check channel 3. Another engineer replied. "Reading is unstable. But within limits." Within limits. That phrase decides life or death. The flight director took a deep breath. His voice was calm, but his eyes showed pressure. "Proceed." T-10 seconds. The rocket engine started to wake up. A deep rumbling sound filled the air. Birds flew away. The ground started to shake. Inside the capsule, The astronauts felt it clearly now. The vibration was strong. Their bodies pressed into the seats. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Ignition. Fire exploded under the rocket. Bright orange flames pushed down. Smoke covered the launch pad. For a moment, Soyuz did not move. Then slowly, it started to rise. The desperate call was over. Now the real test had begun. The rocket climbed higher, faster, stronger. Inside the control room, everyone was silent. Eyes on screens. No talking. No breathing loudly. Soyuz was flying. But the most dangerous part was still ahead, because reaching space is hard. But surviving the journey is even harder. And this was only the beginning. The rocket was moving now. Slow at first. Heavy. Like Earth did not want to let it go. Soyuz was climbing into the sky, pushing against gravity with pure fire. Under it, flames burned brighter than the sun. Smoke covered the ground like a storm. Inside the capsule, the astronauts felt the force immediately. Their bodies were pushed hard into their seats. Breathing became difficult. Not painful, but heavy. Every breath needed effort. No one spoke. They did not need to. They had trained for this moment for years. Outside, the rocket was shaking. Not gently. Not smoothly. It was shaking like a living thing fighting to stay alive. Soyuz was never smooth. And that was normal. This rocket did not promise comfort. It promised survival. In the control room, numbers were moving fast. Speed was increasing. Altitude was rising. Fuel was burning at an unbelievable rate. One engineer whispered quietly, "She is holding." The flight director did not answer. His eyes never left the main screen. 30 seconds after launch, the rocket was already far above the launch pad. Earth below was becoming smaller. The sky was turning darker. Inside the capsule, the noise was loud. Very loud. Metal sounds. Engine sounds. Vibrations everywhere. The astronauts could not turn their heads much. Their helmets were heavy. Their suits were tight. Still, they stayed calm. They knew this part of the journey was the most dangerous. Most rocket failures happen here. The first minute. If something goes wrong now, there is almost no time to fix it. Soyuz continued to climb. Suddenly, a loud bang echoed through the rocket. Not an explosion, but strong enough to feel. The capsule shook harder for a moment. One astronaut tightened his grip. Another astronaut checked the panel. Quickly. Everything was still green. That sound was expected. It was the escape tower separating. Safety system. If something went wrong, that tower could pull the capsule away from the rocket in seconds. But now, it was no longer needed. Soyuz was committed. There was no going back. 1 minute passed. Then 2. The pressure on their bodies increased even more. Gravity pushed them down like an invisible hand. 3 times there. Body weight. Talking was hard now. Breathing was slow. But their training worked. They focused on small things. Breath in, breath out. Soyuz climbed higher and higher. The blue sky faded. Black space slowly appeared. Down on Earth, the rocket looked like a bright star moving upward. A thin line of smoke followed it. Inside the control room, someone finally spoke. First stage burnout approaching. This was another critical moment. Soyuz uses stages. When one stage finishes its fuel, it must separate cleanly. If it does not, the mission can end in disaster. The countdown began in silence. 3, 2, 1, another. Strong jolt. The astronauts felt a sudden change. A sharp push, then a strange light feeling. The first stage had separated. Outside, metal pieces fell away, burning in the atmosphere. Inside, the rocket became lighter. Faster. Soyuz did not stop. It kept climbing. Now, the ride changed. The shaking was less violent, but the speed was much higher. The sound changed. A deeper, smoother roar. The second stage was working. One astronaut looked toward the small window. He could not see much. Only darkness and a thin blue curve far below. Earth. Beautiful. Silent. Far away. There was no time to enjoy it. The journey was not over. Fuel continued to burn. Heat surrounded the rocket. The outside temperature was extreme. Inside, everything depended on thin walls and perfect systems. In the control room, engineers watched closely. A small error could mean loss of signal. Or worse. Then something happened. For just 1 second, the signal flickered. A short pause. Screens froze. No data. The room held its breath. Then signal returned. Numbers flowed. Again. Normal. The flight director slowly relaxed his shoulders. But he did not smile. Not yet. Soyuz was still inside Earth's atmosphere. Still fighting air resistance. Still burning fuel fast. Another stage. Separation was coming. This one was even more important. The second stage. Burned out. A moment of silence. Then another. Push. Another separation. Now only the final engine was working. The rocket was almost there. Inside the capsule. The pressure on the astronauts slowly began to change. The heavy weight feeling started to fade. Their arms felt lighter. Their heads felt strange. This was the edge. Between Earth and space. Then it happened. Silence. The engines shut down. No shaking. No roar. Just quiet. The astronauts looked at each other. Objects inside the capsule began to float. Slowly, a small tool drifted in the air. They were weightless. They had reached space, but no one celebrated. Because they all knew the truth. Getting to space is only half the mission. Soyuz still had to keep them alive. And bring them back. The hardest parts were still waiting. And far ahead, another fire was waiting. Reentry. The noise was gone. No engine sound. No shaking. No fire. Only silence. Inside the Soyuz capsule, silence felt strange. Almost unreal. After minutes of violence, the sudden calm was confusing. The astronauts were floating now. A pen moved slowly in the air. A small strap waved like it was alive. Nothing stayed down. There was no up or down. They had reached space. Many people think space is peaceful, quiet, beautiful. But space is not friendly. It does not care. One astronaut slowly moved his hand. It felt light, but also wrong. His body was confused. His brain was still looking for gravity. Another astronaut turned his head too. Fast. His stomach reacted. This was normal. Human bodies are not made for space. Inside the capsule, small fans worked non-stop. Without them, air would stop moving. Carbon dioxide could build up near the face. Breathing could become dangerous. Everything here had a reason. Nothing was extra. The commander spoke softly. Orbital insertion. Confirmed. The control room replied. Copy. Welcome to orbit. Those words sounded calm, simple, but orbit is not safety. Orbit is speed. Soyuz was now moving around Earth at almost 28,000 kilometers per hour. Faster than any bullet. Faster than sound. One small mistake at this speed can kill in seconds. Outside the capsule, Earth moved quietly below them. A blue and white sphere. Clouds looked soft, peaceful, but between Soyuz and Earth, there was nothing. No air. No help. No escape. The capsule was protected by thin metal walls. Not thick. Not strong. Just strong enough. Inside, the astronauts started their checks. Oxygen levels. Power. Temperature. Communication. All normal. For now. In the control room, Engineers continued watching. Even in orbit, danger never leaves. Space is full of threats that tiny pieces of metal move at extreme speed. Even a small bolt can destroy a spacecraft. Radiation hits without warning. One solar storm can end a mission. Soyuz was built simple for a reason. Simple means fewer failures. But simple does not mean safe. One astronaut looked at the clock. They had only minutes before the next step. Docking with the space station. That would be another test. The spacecraft slowly adjusted its position. Small engines fired gently. Very gently. Too much force could send them spinning. Silence broke again. A warning. Tone. Not loud. Just enough to be noticed. Commander checked the screen. A small message appeared. Orientation. Drift. The capsule was slowly turning. Not fast. But not perfect. In space, even small movements matter. The commander reacted quickly. He fired the control thrusters. Small bursts of gas pushed Soyuz back into position. The warning stopped. Everything returned to normal. But everyone felt it. That reminder. Space allows no mistakes. The capsule continued its path. Earth passed below again and again. Day turned to night in minutes. Sunlight appeared suddenly, then disappeared just as fast. Time felt broken. Inside, the astronauts began to feel strange. Blood moved toward the head. Faces felt full. Legs felt weak. Their bodies were changing. This was only the beginning. One astronaut looked at Earth again. He thought about home, about air, about gravity, about walking. Up here, nothing is free. Every movement needs thought. Every action uses energy. And the mission had only started. In the control room, a senior engineer leaned back slightly. He had seen many missions. He knew the pattern. Launch excitement. Orbit calm. Then danger returns. Because the real challenge is not going up. It is coming back. Soyuz was still circling Earth. Waiting. Preparing. The heat shield was silent now. Cold. Quiet. But one day soon, it would face fire again. And that fire would decide everything. The capsule was still moving. Always moving. Soyuz did not stop. It could not stop. If it stopped, it would fall. Fast. Deadly. The astronauts floated inside a space smaller than a small car. Every wall was close. Every movement had limits. This was not freedom. This was a cage without bars. They had trained for this. But training rooms are big, quiet, safe. Soyuz was none of those. The air smelled different. Not bad, but not fresh. Machines cleaned the air again and again. Still, it never felt like Earth. One astronaut tried to stretch his legs. There was no space. Another astronaut slowly rotated to reach a control panel. He moved carefully. One wrong push could send him crashing into equipment. In space, walls are everywhere. Time moved strangely. There was no morning, no night, only clocks, only schedules. Eat, check systems, talk to ground, sleep. Repeat. Outside the small window, Earth passed again. Beautiful. Blue. Untouchable. So close. So far. The commander checked the oxygen level again. Normal. Always normal. But he checked anyway. In space, trust is dangerous. Soyuz was designed to be simple. Buttons. Switches. No large screens. No colors. Everything looked old. But old did not mean weak. Old meant tested. Every scratch on the metal had a story. Every sound had meaning. And there were many sounds. Clicks. Hums. Soft knocks. At first, the astronauts noticed every sound. Later, they learned to ignore most of them. But not all. One sound made the commander pause. A soft tapping. Not loud. Not constant. Tap. Pause. Tapped. He listened. The sound stopped. Was it normal? In space, even normal sounds feel wrong. He checked the system log. No warning. No message. Still, he stayed alert. Soyuz had no room for fear. Only action. The crew prepared for docking. This was another dangerous step. Two objects moving at extreme speed must meet gently. Too fast. Crash. Too slow. Miss. Soyuz slowly turned. Small engines fired. Short bursts. Very careful. Inside the capsule, the astronauts felt small movements. Not strong, but confusing. Their inner ears struggled. One astronaut felt sick. He closed his eyes, focused on breathing. In the control room on Earth, engineers guided them. Calm voices. Clear words. But Earth felt far away now. If something went wrong, help would not arrive. Only instructions. The space station appeared outside. A metal island floating in darkness. Silent. Still. Soyuz approached slowly. Very slowly. The commander's hands were steady. His eyes did not blink much. Sweat floated off his forehead in small drops. Every second mattered. Then dash contact. A. Soft push. Not violent. Not loud. Just a gentle connection. Docking complete. For a moment. No one spoke. Then a calm voice came from Earth. Docking confirmed. Only then did the astronauts relax a little. A little. Because space never lets you relax fully. They would leave Soyuz soon. Move into the space station. More space. More room. But Soyuz would stay. Waiting. Quiet. Watching. This small capsule was their lifeboat. Their only way home. If Soyuz failed, there was no backup. The commander looked at the capsule walls. He touched them lightly. This machine would decide their future. Outside, Earth continued to turn. Inside, Soyuz waited. Because the journey was not finished. The most dangerous part was still ahead. Their return, and space always demands a price. Time passed in space, but it did not feel real. Days felt short. Nights felt meaningless. The astronauts worked inside the space station, but Soyuz was always there. Quiet. Docked. Waiting. It was easy to forget it. But forgetting Soyuz was dangerous, because Soyuz was not just a spacecraft. It was the only door home. One day, the schedule changed. The return day was close. The commander read the message slowly. No emotion on his face. But his heart felt heavy. Returning to Earth sounds simple. It is not. Going up is violent. Coming down is worse. Soyuz had only one chance. No retry. No second attempt. The astronauts prepared quietly. Tools were packed. Experiments were stored. Personal items were placed carefully. Every kilogram mattered. Before leaving the space station, they looked back one last time. A safe place. A big place. Soyuz waited outside. Small, tight, cold. They entered the capsule again. Closed the hatch. Locked it. The sound of the hatch closing was loud. Final. Inside, Soyuz felt different now. Smaller than before. Less friendly. The commander checked the systems. Power, air, heat shield. All green. Still, he checked again. Space does not forgive trust. In the control room on Earth, engineers prepared as well. Reentry calculations. Angles. Speed. Too steep. Burn. Too shallow. Skip and die in space. The margin was thin. Very thin. The command came. Prepare for undocking. Small engines fired. A gentle push. Soyuz slowly moved away from the station. The space station grew smaller. Then it was gone. Now they were alone. Again. Soyuz turned. Adjusted position. Lined up for the return path. This path was not straight down. It was precise. Perfect timing. 1. Astronaut looked at Earth through the window. It looked peaceful. Blue. Soft. But Earth was dangerous now. Because Earth had gravity. And gravity was waiting. The commander gave the order. Deorbit burn. The engine fired. Not loud. Not long. Just enough to slow them down. That small change sealed their fate. There was no going back now. Soyuz began to fall. At first, nothing felt different. Then slowly, gravity returned. Very weak at first. Then stronger. The capsule started to shake. Not like launch. This shaking felt angry. Outside, air touched the capsule again. Thin at first. Then thicker. Heat began to rise. The heat shield took the fire. Plasma formed around the capsule. Bright, deadly. Inside. The astronauts could not see outside anymore. Communication stopped. Blackout. Total silence. From Earth. No voices. No help. Only Soyuz. The capsule shook harder. Flames screamed outside. Temperature climbed fast. The walls creaked. One astronaut tightened his straps. Another closed his eyes. This was the moment everyone feared. If the heat shield failed, there would be no warning. No pain. Just end. Seconds felt endless. Shaking reached its peak. Then suddenly, the force changed. The fire began to fade. Air slowed them down. The worst was over. But they did not know that. Yet. Communication returned. A voice from Earth broke through. We see you. The commander exhaled. Slowly. Not safe yet. Not yet. Parachutes were next. If they failed, the capsule would hit the ground like a stone. A small explosion. The first parachute opened. Then another. The capsule jerked. Hard. Violent. Uncomfortable. But alive. The ground came closer fast. Very fast. Small rockets fired at the last second. A final. Impact. Hard. Painful. But real. Silence. Then wind. Then voices. They had returned. Soyuz opened. Fresh air. Entered. Earth air. Heavy. Beautiful. Astronauts blinked in the sunlight. They were home. But they knew one thing now. Soyuz does not give comfort. Soyuz gives survival. And sometimes survival is enough. The capsule did not move anymore. After all that speed, after all that fire, everything was still. For a few seconds, no one spoke. The astronauts were alive, but their bodies felt strange. Heavy. Very heavy. Gravity had returned fully, and it was not gentle. Their arms felt like stone. Their legs would not listen. Their heads felt full. Earth was welcoming them back. Hard. Outside, the rescue team arrived quickly. Bright suits. Loud voices. Fast steps. The hatch was opened carefully. Fresh air rushed inside. It felt cold. It felt thick. It felt real. The astronauts tried to smile, but their faces were weak. Even breathing felt different now. Their bodies had forgotten Earth. They were lifted out slowly. They could not stand. Not yet. On Earth, gravity is always there. It never leaves. In space, the body forgets how to fight it. Muscles grow weak. Bones lose strength. Coming back is painful. The commander closed his eyes as they placed him on a chair. The sky above looked too wide. Too bright. Just hours ago, Earth was far below. Now it was pressing down on him. Doctors checked their hearts. Blood pressure, eyes, hands. Everything was normal. But normal felt wrong. One astronaut tried to move his fingers. They shook. Another felt dizzy. The world spun slowly. This was the hidden price of space. No fire. No explosion. Just weakness. In the distance, the Soyuz capsule sat quietly. Burn marks covered its surface. Black scars. Deep lines. Looked tired. But proud. That small machine had carried humans through fire and vacuum, and brought them back. Not smoothly. Not gently. But alive. Engineers walked around the capsule. They touched the heat shield, took photos, noted damage. Every mark told a story. Inside the control room far away, screens were now quiet. No alarms, no countdowns. Only data logs. The mission was complete. But for the astronauts, the journey was not over. They would spend weeks learning to walk again, training muscles, fighting dizziness, adjusting to Earth sounds, Earth smells, Earth life. Space stays inside the body for a long time. At night, one astronaut lay in bed. He felt the bed press against his back. Gravity again, strong, constant. Missed the floating, but he did not miss the fear. Space gives beauty. Space also takes something back. The commander later looked at a photo of Soyuz. Simple, old, rough, not perfect, but honest. This rocket did not promise comfort. It promised one thing only. Return. And it kept that promise. Far above Earth. Space remained silent, cold, endless. It would wait for the next call, the next crew, the next journey. Because humans will always look up, and Soyuz will always be ready. The world loves new things. New phones, new cars, new rockets, but Soyuz stayed old. And that was not a mistake. Engineers around the world often asked the same question. Why not change it? Why not make it modern? Why not make it beautiful? The answer was simple. Because Soyuz worked. This machine was not designed to impress people. It was designed to bring people back alive. Soyuz was born in a dangerous time. A time when mistakes meant death. When computers were weak. When human lives depended on simple switches and strong metal. Every part of Soyuz was tested again and again. If a part failed once, it was fixed. If it failed twice, it was removed. Only the strongest ideas survived. That is why Soyuz looks old. It carries the past inside it. Modern rockets use screens, software, touch panels. Soyuz uses buttons, physical switches. Things astronauts can feel with gloves on. In space, touch matters. If a screen goes black, a button can still work. Soyuz trusts simplicity. Trust saved lives. There were moments in history when Soyuz should have failed. Explosions, fires, sudden errors during launch. But the escape system worked. The capsule pulled away. Humans survived. That memory stayed inside every engineer's mind. Do not change what saves lives. Soyuz became something rare. A machine people trusted more than technology. Astronauts from many countries flew in Soyuz. Different languages, different flags. But inside the capsule, everyone was equal. All trusted the same machine. Soyuz did not care who you were. It cared only about physics, gravity, fire, speed. It respected rules. And because of that, space respected it back. Some people called Soyuz boring. They were wrong. Soyuz was honest. It never promised comfort. It never promised beauty. It promised survival. And in space, that promise is everything. As years passed, newer rockets arrived. Faster, smarter, cleaner. Still Soyuz stayed. Not because it was cheap. Not because it was easy. Because it was proven. Every burn mark on its body told a story. Every landing scar showed success. Soyuz became more than a rocket. It became a standard. A reminder that progress is not always about change. Sometimes, progress is knowing when not to change. Space is quiet. Not the peaceful quiet of sleep, but the cold quiet of something that does not care. Does not care about dreams. It does not care about courage. It does not care about humans. Space only follows rules. Fire burns. Metal breaks. Gravity pulls. Humans learned this the hard way. Many machines tried to go to space. Many failed. Some never came back, but Soyuz did dot again, and again, and again. Not because it was perfect, because it respected danger. Soyuz never tried to fight space. It never tried to look strong dot. It accepted weakness. That is why it survived. Inside Soyuz, astronauts learned an important lesson. You are not in control. The machine is not in control. Space is humans. Only borrow time up there. A short moment. A fragile moment. Soyuz was built to protect that moment. It wrapped humans in metal. It gave them air. It burned for them. It fell for them. And when the fire was over, it let them walk on Earth again. The world now talks about the future. Big rockets. Mars missions. New technology. All exciting. But every future step stands on old shoulders. Soyuz showed one truth clearly. In space, speed does not matter. Beauty does not matter. Pride does not matter. Only one thing matters. Coming back. That is why Soyuz will always be remembered. Not as the fastest. Not as the newest. But as the most honest. A machine that never lied. A machine that said, "This is dangerous, but I will try to bring you home." And it did. Above Earth, space is still waiting. Silent. Endless. Humans will go again. And when they do, they will remember Soyuz. Because survival is the first victory of space. And Soyuz mastered it.